So things are still in shambles leading up to the release of the Snow White film on March 21st. By the time I release this video, it might have already been out, but regardless, we have to talk about what's been happening. So some articles are saying that Disney was now scaling back when it came to their premieres for the film. And usually for these types of movies, they have a whole rollout, several different premiere locations, press interviews, the whole shebang. But for this film, it looks like they're opting out of all of that. The Independent had some things to say about it, specifically regarding Snow White herself, Miss Rachel Zegler, their lead actress. So I'm just going to read what they said really quickly. They said, Disney will reportedly scale back the Hollywood premieres of its forthcoming live-action remake of Snow White after the film has been hit with controversy over its casting of lead actor Rachel Zegler and the inclusion of the Seven Dwarfs. According to Variety, the premiere, which would typically include a large-scale red carpet event with multiple media outlets invited to interview the stars, has reportedly been reduced to only photographers and in-house crew. The Independent has contacted Disney for comment. And then they talk about Rachel basically talking about the 1937 version of Snow White and how she was saying it was outdated and, you know, the prince was a stalker, and we're not gonna go down that route again, but I'm pretty sure you guys would have probably seen those interview clips by now, but it was bad. It was some really bad press. It was like, why didn't y'all just come out and say this movie is going to be great, go watch it? Like, you did not need to give opinions about the old film. You did not need to talk about what people deem as the classic that they already hold near and dear to their heart. You want these fans to come and watch your new movie. So why do that? Why crap on the original? It was just not well thought through, and I think their PR managers were literally having a mental breakdown because both her and Gal Gadot, who was primarily just kind of standing behind agreeing with everything that Rachel was saying, the fact that she was still there agreeing was kind of enough for both of them to just be looked at like, what, huh? Yeah, it just had a lot of people in an uproar, but I think most of the backlash was definitely towards or because of Rachel Zegler. I do not think it was because of Gal Gadot, but the fact that she was there agreeing, it made it worse. So they decided to also scrap their UK premiere event in London in fear of more backlash. So instead of doing any of these premieres that they probably already had planned, they opted for a small event at a remote castle in Spain, which was the inspiration behind the castle in the 1937 original animated version. So it was kind of like a nod to that movie as well. I just thought it was very interesting that they were like, yeah, just scrap everything. We're just gonna put everything on a smaller scale. So the film's European premiere took place on Wednesday at a remote castle in Spain. Like I said, Zegler performed a rendition of the original song Waiting on a Wish at the event on Wednesday evening in Segovia, northwest of Madrid. Most media outlets were not invited to the medieval castle, and Zegler instead performed to a relatively small crowd. The Los Angeles premiere, meanwhile, would be reportedly smaller than usual for a film of this magnitude, with the stars only expected to pose for photographs and speak to Disney in-house crews. News journalists have not been invited to attend the red carpet and therefore will not have the opportunity to interview the film's cast and creatives. However, the cast are taking part in a few select sit-down interviews with some outlets as a part of a press junket which is taking place this week. Disney is probably in complete panic mode right now when it comes to this movie. They're probably just ready to just get it out and be done with it, instead of trying to draw it out and do the premieres like they usually would and have people talk and all that stuff. They're like, listen, we're not gonna have Rachel talk anymore, because clearly she don't know how to just either filter what she's saying or keep her mouth shut. Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, be quiet. I feel like that's a good rule of thumb usually, especially when you're trying to keep the optics in your favor when it comes to a film that you're going to be starring in, like as the lead role. I'd want to keep everything relatively going smoothly, you know, like it just, the jokes and the things that she would say about the original film, it was like, girl, why? Literally stopping this movie in its tracks. It was projected to do pretty well, probably similarly to The Little Mermaid or maybe a little less, but it was like, girl, come on, man. Like, this was a shoo-in. You're just making a remake of a beloved film. All you had to do was say you are excited to see the movie and you are hoping the audience and the viewers at home are excited to see it too. That's all you had to say. You did not have to talk about your feminist ideals and how you think Snow White is a leader and how she doesn't have to rely on a man. Like, Girl, what? We are talking about a Disney princess and Prince Charming. We did not need to bring in everything else she was discussing. But yeah, I think it's really funny. I think Disney is honestly panicking and trying not to show it. They were like, listen, we need to shield Rachel away from the press, because it wasn't the press's fault that she decided to just yap and said things that people are like not a fan of. I just honestly think that this film was doomed from the start. Before Rachel had even opened her mouth, they were already under fire for the whole dwarf thing. I honestly think that they should have never listened to Peter Dinklage. He was talking about the whole dwarves and caves thing, how it was like backwards. Let me read what he had said. I'm gonna go back. He says, I was a little taken aback by the fact that they were very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, referring to Colombian American actress Rachel Zegler. You're progressive in one way, but then you're still making that backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave together. Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. The actor had previously spoken about the representation of dwarfism, saying it was bad writing to make it a dominant character trait. He was basically saying that Disney was moving forward in the arena of, I guess, being more inclusive with having a Latina actress, Rachel Zegler, as the lead role, even though there was a lot of controversy about that as well. But I think that in terms of the whole dwarf conversation, now you have little people that probably could have played in these roles, you know, these 7 dwarf roles, and now they just have CGI. They're just out of the job. So instead of actually having real people, they're just using CGI, which looks way worse than it did back in the day. Like, I don't understand how we're moving backwards when it comes to special effects. It's not making sense. Also, with regards to Rachel, you know, she also didn't quite fit the description of the Snow White character. Then on top of that, not only did Rachel make comments about the old film, but she also, after the US elections back in 2024, decided to make comments about Trump and his supporters, talking about may they never know peace. Pretty much sounded like she was threatening them. You know, that did not come across well. And she did apologize, but it sounded like Disney probably sent over some reps or really scary people and was like, you better make this better. You better smooth this over with everybody or else this movie is done. But it also looks like things are tense between her and Gal Gadot because of their differing beliefs about the Israel versus Palestine situation. Obviously, Gal Gadot is Israeli, and now you have Rachel, who's very outspoken about her support of Palestine. So that was just interesting. And then on top of that, the trailer didn't look that great. People were talking about Rachel's looks in comparison to Gal Gadot, stating that it didn't even physically make sense for Gal to be the evil queen, to be jealous of Snow White if she was being played by Rachel. It didn't make sense for Gal to be the one to be jealous of her and her looks. But take that how you will. But at the same time, I can't really deny what they're saying, you know? It's just kind of like, I'm not saying Rachel is bad looking, it's just, it's not really believable. That's all I'm gonna say. I do think that overall things were just getting completely crazy after Rachel's comments about the film, the continuous disparaging of the original. And now I think the film is projected to make only $48 to $58 million domestically in its opening week. And there apparently was an original budget of $269 million, but Disney forecasted that the film would go over the production's budget. So it's somewhere in the $300 million range for how much they spent on this film. So there's just no way they're probably going to make their money back in terms of like actually making a profit. It's not gonna happen. Even breaking even seems like it might not happen, you know? But I'm just not surprised. I'm still gonna watch it because I want to see what they spent all this time filming. Okay, but y'all can let me know your thoughts on this one down in the comments. Are you surprised, not surprised about Disney's choices to roll back on their premieres? I'm really not, but yeah, let me know. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.